My parents think you're a downgrade from my ex. I don't want to make them uncomfortable, she said after I asked why I wasn't invited to her sister's wedding. I said, I see, and let it go, packed my things, and left while she was at the wedding. A few hours later, her father called me confused. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. You never realize you're just a placeholder until the person you're holding the spot for decides to show up. For 2 years, I thought I was the hero of Sarah's story. I thought I was the guy who came in after the storm, the one who rebuilt the house, fixed the foundation, and made it safe to live in again. But looking back, I wasn't the hero. I was just the contractor. And once the renovations were done, she didn't need the guy with the tool belt anymore. She wanted the guy who threw the parties. I met Sarah at a low point in her life. She was 26, drowning in credit card debt, and emotionally shattered from a 3-year on-and-off relationship with a guy named Todd. Todd was a visionary. That's what she called him. In reality, Todd was a 30-year-old aspiring club promoter who borrowed money he never paid back, cheated on her constantly, and made her feel like she was lucky just to be in his orbit. When he finally dumped her for an 18-year-old Instagram model, Sarah collapsed. Enter me, Mark, the systems analyst. I was everything Todd wasn't. I was stable. I was consistent. I paid my bills on autodraft. I didn't disappear for 3 days on a networking trip to Miami. When Sarah and I started dating, she told me I was a breath of fresh air. She told me she was done with the drama, the highs and lows, the toxicity. She wanted peace. And I gave her peace. I helped her organize her finances. I co-signed on her car refi to get her interest rate down from a predatory 18% to something manageable. When she wanted to go back to school to finish her marketing degree, I covered the rent entirely so she could focus on her classes. I wasn't just a boyfriend. I was the infrastructure of her life. But there's a funny thing about peace. If you're addicted to chaos, peace starts to feel a lot like boredom. The shift happened about 6 months ago. Sarah finished her degree and landed a decent job at a PR firm. She was looking better than ever, going to the gym, dressing up, glowing with a confidence I hadn't seen when we first met. I was proud of her. I thought we were winning. Then came the comments. It started small. We'd be watching a movie, and she'd sigh. I wish we did things like that. Spontaneous things. We went to Cabo last month. I'd remind her. Yeah, but we planned it, Mark. It was on a spreadsheet. It's not the same as just going. Then it got personal. She started making subtle digs about my job. You stare at screens all day? Don't you ever want to build something? Create something. I build networks that keep hospitals running, Sarah. I'd say, trying to keep it light. She'd just roll her eyes. You know what I mean. It's just so sterile. It all came to a head the week of her sister Emily's wedding. This wedding was the event of the year for her family. Emily was marrying into a wealthy family, old money, country club types. Sarah was the maid of honor, and she was terrified of everything going wrong. She was obsessed with appearances. She wanted to prove to her extended family, and maybe to herself, that she wasn't the messy sister anymore. She had her life together. She had the job. She had the stability. I assumed I was part of that stability flex. I wanted to look the part, so I went out and dropped $600 on a tailored charcoal suit. I got a fresh haircut. I made sure my car was detailed so we'd roll up looking sharp. I was ready to be the arm candy she needed, the proof that she had graduated from guys like Todd who wore ripped jeans to funerals. 2 nights before the wedding, I walked into the living room wearing the suit. I just picked it up from the tailor. What do you think? I asked, adjusting the cuffs. Does the tie work? Sarah was sitting on the couch, her phone in her hand. Her thumb froze over the screen when she saw me. She didn't smile. She didn't say, "Wow, you look great." She looked pained. "It's fine," she said, her voice tight. She looked back down at her phone. "It's very you." "Very me? What does that mean?" "I don't know, Mark. It's safe. It's a gray suit. It's what an accountant wears." "I'm an analyst, but okay," I said, taking off the jacket. I felt the sting, but I pushed it down. She was stressed. Bridesmaidzilla stress. I let it slide. "So, what's the plan for Saturday?" "The ceremony starts at 4, so I figure we leave by 2. She didn't answer immediately. She locked her phone and placed it face down on the coffee table. A heavy silence filled the room, the kind that sucks the air out of your lungs. She picked at a loose thread on the throw pillow, refusing to meet my eyes. "Sarah? About the wedding. she started, and I saw her take a deep breath, like she was preparing to dive into cold water. I've been talking to my mom. Okay. Is everything all right with Emily? Emily is fine, she said quickly. It's the guest list. It's tight. And honestly, my parents have been making some comments lately. I frowned. I actually liked her parents. Her dad, Robert, and I got along great. We watched football together. We talked about cars. I'd helped him set up his home Wi-Fi mesh system. I'd never felt any animosity from them. Comments about what? I asked, sitting down on the armchair across from her. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were filled with a strange mix of pity and annoyance. About you. And Todd. My stomach dropped. I hadn't heard that name in 2 years. Todd. Why are they talking about Todd? Because Todd was memorable. Mark, she said, her tone sharpening. He had charisma. He lit up a room. My parents, specifically my mom, they miss that energy. They think you're a great guy. Really, they do. But they think you're a bit of a safe choice. A rebound. A rebound. I repeated, the words tasting like ash. We've been living together for 2 years, Sarah. I'm not a rebound. That's how they see it, she snapped, throwing her hands up defensively. Look, I'm just telling you what they said. They think coming from Todd to you is a shift. A downgrade in personality. They think you're boring, Mark. Okay, I said it. The word hung there. Downgrade. So, she continued, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. I don't want to put you in a position where you're uncomfortable. I don't want you sitting there all night knowing they're comparing you to him. It's going to be awkward. For my sake, and honestly for yours. I think it's better if I go alone. I sat there, frozen. The logic was absurd. If her parents thought I was boring, the solution wasn't to hide me. It was to bring me and let me be a normal, respectful partner. But the way she looked at me, like I was a stain on her otherwise perfect picture, paralyzed me. You're uninviting me, I stated flatly, to your sister's wedding, where I'm the +1 of the maid of honor. I'm protecting you, she insisted, standing up and grabbing her phone again. God, why do you have to make everything so difficult? I'm trying to spare your feelings. My mom is going to be drunk and critical, and I can't deal with managing your insecurity on top of my maid of honor duties. My insecurity. I see, I said. And I did see. I didn't see what she wanted me to see. I didn't see a protective girlfriend saving me from critical in-laws. I saw a woman who was ashamed of me. I saw a woman who had rewritten history to turn a toxic, unemployed loser into a charismatic legend, and turn the man who saved her life into a boring downgrade. Fine, I said. My voice was calm, unnervingly calm. She blinked, surprised by how easily I folded. Really? Yeah. If your parents think I'm a downgrade, I shouldn't be there. You go. Have fun. Do your duty. She let out a massive sigh of relief, her shoulders dropping. She walked over and kissed me on the cheek. It felt like a betrayal in itself. Thank you for understanding, Mark. You're really sweet. This is why we work. You're so logical. Yeah, I said, looking at the gray suit draped over the chair. Logical. She spent the rest of the night frantic, packing her bag, texting furiously. She told me she was going to stay at the hotel near the venue the night before to help Emily prep. I'll see you Sunday morning, she said as she dragged her suitcase to the door the next afternoon. Love you. Bye, Sarah, I said. The door clicked shut. I listened to her footsteps fade down the hallway. I waited until I heard the elevator ding. Then I walked to the window and watched her get into an Uber. She wasn't alone. From 3 stories up, it was hard to see details, but I saw a guy lean out of the back seat to help the driver with her bag. He was wearing a flashy leather jacket. He had that distinct, bouncy walk of someone who thinks the world is watching him. Todd. I stood there for a long time, my hand resting on the cold glass. She hadn't uninvited me to protect me from her parents. She had uninvited me because she was bringing him. The rage didn't hit me like an explosion. It hit me like a cold front. It froze everything. I turned away from the window and looked at the apartment. My apartment. The TV I bought. The console I played on. The couch I paid for. The silence was deafening, but for the first time in 2 years, it didn't feel peaceful. It felt like a signal. Downgrade. I whispered to the empty room. I walked into the bedroom, pulled my duffel bag out of the closet, and started opening drawers. I wasn't going to be here when she got back, and neither was the Wi-Fi password. I didn't destroy the apartment. I didn't slash her tires or cut up her clothes. That's what Todd would have done. That's what a chaotic person does. I'm an analyst. I don't create chaos. I simply remove the support structures that allow the system to function. I gave myself 2 hours. First, the essentials. I packed my clothes, my toiletries, and my documents into 3 suitcases. I cleared out the safe, passport, birth certificate, and the emergency cash stash I had contributed 90% to. Then, the tech. This was where it hurt her the most. I unplugged the 65-inch OLED TV I'd bought for our anniversary. I boxed up my PS5. I took the Sonos speakers from the living room, the bedroom, and the kitchen. But the real kill switch was the connectivity. I walked over to the corner of the living room where the fiber optic modem and the high-end mesh router sat. I paid the bill. The account was in my name. I unplugged the router, wrapped the cord neatly around the device, and shoved it into my backpack. In seconds, the apartment went from a smart home to a dumb box. The smart lights died. The thermostat went offline. Alexa went mute. The streaming services logged out. I stood in the center of the living room. It wasn't empty. Her furniture, her decorations, and her clutter were still there, but it felt hollow. It looked like what it was, a space she couldn't afford, filled with things she hadn't earned. I placed my house key on the kitchen counter. No note. No explanation. A note implies there is still a conversation to be had. Leaving the key means the conversation is over. I took the elevator down to the garage, loaded up my car, and drove to a Marriott downtown. I checked in, went up to my room, and sat on the edge of the bed. It was 4:30 p.m. The ceremony would be starting right now. I imagined her walking down the aisle as the maid of honor, smiling that practiced smile, Todd sitting in the crowd in his cheap suit, probably already sweating through his shirt. I imagined her parents looking at him, confused, wondering where I was. I ordered a whiskey from room service and waited. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't the silence of loneliness. It was the silence of a bomb technician who had finally cut the right wire. The timer had stopped. I was safe. At 7:15 p.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I looked at the screen. Robert, Sarah's dad. I let it ring 3 times. I needed to compose my voice. I needed to sound like I had no idea what was happening. I picked up. Hello. Mark. Oh, thank God. Robert's voice was trembling. He sounded breathless, like he had stepped outside to escape a fire. Mark, are you okay? Are you at the hospital? I frowned, sitting up straighter. The hospital? No, Robert. I'm at a hotel. What are you talking about? There was a pause on the other end. A thick, confused silence. A hotel? Sarah told us. She told us you collapsed. She said you had some kind of seizure or heart thing right before you were supposed to leave. She said you made her come to the wedding because you didn't want to ruin Emily's day and that you were under observation. My grip tightened on the phone. The sheer audacity of the lie took my breath away. She didn't just lie to cover her tracks. She weaponized my health to make herself look like a brave martyr soldiering on while her boyfriend was in the ER. Robert, I said, my voice ice cold. I didn't have a seizure. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't understand, Robert stammered. Then why aren't you here? Why is Todd here? Todd is there. I asked, feigning surprise. Is he sitting at my table? He's sitting in your seat, eating your steak, Robert snapped, the confusion turning into anger. He showed up with her. She said she needed emotional support because she was so worried about you. Mark, what the hell is going on? I took a sip of the whiskey. It burned, grounding me. Robert, Sarah uninvited me yesterday, I said calmly. She told me that you and her mother thought I was a downgrade from Todd. She said my presence would make you uncomfortable because I'm boring compared to him. She said she was doing you a favor by leaving me home. What? Robert roared. The sound distorted the speaker. A downgrade. Mark, I can't stand that greasy little weeping sore of a human being. He borrowed $500 from me 3 years ago and never paid it back. I tried to get security to kick him out, but Sarah started crying about how she needed him. Well, I said, she has him now, and she doesn't have me anymore. What do you mean? I moved out, Robert. I packed my things while she was at the ceremony. I'm done. The lease is up in 2 months. I'll pay my share until then, but I'm not coming back. I could hear the background noise of the wedding on the other end, the muffled bass of a DJ, clinking glasses, laughter. It sounded like a different world. Mark, don't do this, Robert pleaded, his voice dropping. She's an idiot. You know how she gets when she's stressed. I'll go grab her right now. I'll drag her out by her ear if I have to. Just come down here. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, Bob, I said gently. I actually felt bad for him. He was losing the only normal guy his daughter had ever dated. She didn't just cheat on me. She looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't good enough for her family, just so she could sneak her ex in. That's not stress. That's character. I'm going to kill him, Robert muttered, and I heard movement. I'm looking at him right now. He's trying to network with Emily's father-in-law. He's handing out business cards for a club that closed 6 months ago. I let out a short, dry laugh. Classic Todd. Mark, please. Robert tried one last time. I'm sorry, Robert. Enjoy the wedding. Tell Emily I said congratulations. And tell Sarah. I paused, searching for the right words. Tell Sarah that since I'm such a downgrade, I removed myself from the equation. She can upgrade to Todd full-time now. Mark, goodbye, Robert. I hung up. I stared at the phone for a moment, then powered it off completely. I walked to the window of the hotel room, looking out at the city lights. I felt a strange sensation in my chest. It wasn't heartbreak. It wasn't anger. It was relief. The anchor was cut. The weight was gone. I didn't know exactly what was happening at that reception hall 10 miles away, but I knew the physics of Sarah's life better than she did. I had just removed the load-bearing wall, and gravity was about to do the rest. I kept my phone off for 24 hours. Sunday was peaceful. I slept in. I went for a long run along the river. I ate a steak dinner alone at the hotel bar and read a book. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't worrying about Sarah's anxiety, Sarah's schedule, or Sarah's validation. I was just Mark. And Mark was doing just fine. When I finally turned my phone back on Monday morning before work, the device nearly vibrated off the desk. 47 missed calls. 82 text messages. 12 voicemails. Most were from Sarah. A few were from Emily, the bride. 2 were from her mom. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I scrolled through the text preview. Sarah, Sunday 1 a.m. Where are you? Sarah, Sunday 1:15 a.m. This isn't funny, Mark. Where's the TV? Sarah, Sunday 2:30 a.m. Pick up the phone. My dad is screaming at me because of what you told him. Sarah, Sunday 9 a.m. You embarrassed me on the biggest night of my sister's life. You were so selfish. Sarah, Sunday 4 p.m. Baby, please. I can explain. Todd just showed up. I didn't invite him. Dad lied. Sarah, Sunday 8 p.m. The Wi-Fi is gone. Seriously? You took the router? You are so petty. Sarah, Monday 6 a.m. Can we just talk? Please. I messed up. I need you. The progression from anger to gaslighting to desperation was textbook. It was almost boring. I archived the thread without replying and went to work. She showed up at 5:30 p.m. I was walking to my car in the parking garage. I saw her leaning against my driver's side door, arms crossed, wearing oversized sunglasses to hide what I assumed were puffy eyes. She looked smaller than usual, defeated, but when she saw me, she straightened up, and that familiar defensive spark lit up in her posture. You blocked me, she said. No hello. No apology. Just an accusation. I did, I said, stopping 10 feet away. I didn't unlock the car. What do you want, Sarah? I want you to come home, she said, her voice cracking. She took a step toward me. This is insane, Mark. You don't just move out. You don't just ghost someone you've lived with for 2 years because of a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, I repeated, letting the word roll around. Is that what we're calling it? You told me your parents hated me, so you could bring your ex-boyfriend to a family wedding. Then you told your father I was in the hospital having a seizure to explain my absence. Which part did I misunderstand? She flinched. The seizure lie was the smoking gun, and she knew it. She looked down at the concrete floor. I panicked, she whispered. Todd. Todd texted me Friday night. He said he was going to be in town. He said he wanted to see me, to see if there was still a spark. I just wanted closure, Mark. I wanted to prove to myself that I was over him. So you brought him as your date to prove you were over him? I asked. That's interesting logic. It was a mistake, she cried, finally taking off the sunglasses. Her eyes were red-rimmed. He was a disaster, Mark. He got drunk. He hit on Emily's new sister-in-law. He tried to get my dad to invest in some crypto scam during the toast. My dad almost punched him. It was humiliating. Karma usually is, I said. And then he left, she continued, tears spilling over. He left with one of the bridesmaids. He didn't even say goodbye to me. He just used me to get into the open bar. She looked at me, pleading with her eyes, waiting for me to do what I always did. Step in, fix it, tell her it wasn't her fault. and offered to make dinner. She was waiting for the contractor to come back and repair the damage. I'm sorry that happened to you, I said. But I'm not surprised. I know you were right, she sobbed, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. Her hand swiped at empty air. I realized it the second he started talking. I missed you, Mark. I missed how steady you are. I missed how you make me feel safe. Please, just come home. The apartment is so quiet without you. I can't even watch TV. Because I took the TV, I reminded her. We can buy a new TV. I don't care about the stuff. I care about us. I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the fear in her eyes. It wasn't the fear of losing me, the man who loved her. It was the fear of losing the infrastructure. She was terrified of the silence in the apartment. She was terrified of the bills that were coming due. She was terrified of facing her parents alone. Sarah, I said, my voice steady. Remember what you told me Friday night? You said I was a downgrade. You said I was boring. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did, I said. And you were right. She blinked, confused. What? I am boring compared to Todd, I said. I pay bills. I show up on time. I don't cheat. I don't cause scenes at weddings. That is boring to people like you. You crave the highs and lows. You need the chaos to feel alive. And I'm done being the safety net you land on when the chaos drops you. I don't want chaos, she screamed, losing composure. I want you. No, I said, finally unlocking my car. The beep echoed in the garage. You want the rent paid. You want the car fixed. You want the parents off your back. You want the upgrade lifestyle without the upgrade character. I opened the door and tossed my bag onto the passenger seat. Mark, please, she whimpered, grabbing the door handle. My dad is furious. He said he's not speaking to me until I fix this. He loves you. Your dad is a good man, I said. He deserves a better son-in-law than Todd. And frankly, he deserves a better daughter than you right now. She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. I'm going to send movers for the rest of my furniture on Saturday, I said, getting into the driver's seat. I've already transferred the utilities out of my name. They'll shut off in 48 hours if you don't call them. Good luck with the bills, Sarah. You can't leave me, she shrieked, banging her fist on the window as I started the engine. I can't afford that place alone. You promised you'd take care of me. I rolled down the window just an inch. I did take care of you, I said. I fixed you up. I got you debt-free. I got you a degree. You're in a better place than when I found you. I put the car in reverse. Consider it a severance package. I rolled the window up. She was screaming something else, probably an insult, probably begging, but the soundproofing on my car was excellent. I backed out, put it in drive, and drove up the ramp toward the sunlight. I checked the rearview mirror once. She was standing alone in the dark garage, small and shrinking with every yard I put between us. I turned on the radio. A classic rock song was playing. It wasn't boring. It sounded like freedom. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.